gamers, gals, non-binary pals. Unfortunately, I am banned from Yu-Gi-Oh! I am not allowed to play in tournaments until May 2025. But as much as I miss being surrounded in the gamer musk, sometimes I look at the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Series held in the back rooms and I'm like, wow, I sure am glad I'm not at this event. And MBT in this video, Yu-Gi-Oh!'s worst tournaments of all time, kind of gets into that. We're gonna give it a little watch. And I want to see what events I fortunately missed out on. But first, this video was brought to you guys by Imperium Duelist. Imperium makes some of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Accessories and apparel, full stop. In fact, I religiously used their cherubim oversleeves for over a year at one point. And speaking of accessories, we've come together to create the hoppin' around playmat. You're all my little drama frogs, and I wanted to create a piece of art that is actually some form of usable merch. It comes in two colors, monochrome and hot pink, which is my favorite color by the way, and I am in love with how they turned out, both the single and two player variants. Pick up a playmat, be sure to use my code Stevie10 on all products for their site for a 10% off discount, and be sure to tag us when yours comes in.
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka... And we are back with another Twitter thread. Today I'm talking about YCSs. And why am I talking about YCSs? Well, the YCS in Las Vegas was fine, but nothing to write home about. A little bit of mismanagement here, a little bit of delayed rounds there, inability to ever see the clock no matter where you sat, made this event a bust for a lot of people. So today I wanted to know what your least favorite YCSs ever were. And I'm going to begin with one of my least favorite, YCS Philly, where they dropped the ban list round 2. It was cool, but it did pretty much ruin everyone's round 2.
That was funny as shit. Let's not pretend that a ban list getting dropped mid YCS and everyone rushing to vendors to like sell their ASAP was not the funniest thing imaginable.
So the ban list is dropped. That's pretty cool.
I just saw it.
What's the ban list? Let's see.
Live reaction.
I wish I was at that YCS. I could have made billions.
Niagara Falls, I think this one may come up a number of times. No live stream coverage. Side deck not running it, so pairings were slow as shit. No side events day 1. No accepting of credit cards for side event payment.
No credit
USD
cards.
to CAD conversions for side events. You had to spend 1 for 1. I spent $500 for this event. Sorry to hear that, Dyer. I had a good time at this YCS, but mostly because I dropped pretty early day 1 and got to see the entirety of Niagara Falls. Beautiful, beautiful place. The event itself was made even worse by the fact that the convention space was sequestered into about a third of the total space. There were like 900 people shuffled into a room no larger than the average Manhattan apartment. The funniest part of this event for me was that I had signed up a little later than I was supposed to, and as a result had to spend like 6 hours in a line outside the venue, hoping that I would lottery my way into getting to play. I did, and then scrubbed out.
MBT, professional Yu-Gi-Oh player. One of my friends ended up going to YCS Niagara. They hated the event, not because the event was like super scuffed and all that, but because everything in Niagara is so goddamn expensive. If any of you guys were at YCS Vegas and thought like $5 for a bottle of water was gonna be the reason you committed acts of terrorism, wait until you see Niagara prices where you're paying $21 for a chicken wrap.
I've only been to 3 Tier 3 events, but I think YCS London's first round does rank pretty high up there in absolute travesties. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, YCS London, the 250th, the first round was on the
editing mistake.
Some people just didn't get a pairing, and after about 40 minutes of waiting, they just had to fire the round, and so they started it with a bunch of people still in line, including me, and we were like scrambling around. They were giving people like 30-minute extensions. Many people did get a match loss for a lack of a round 1 opponent. It was just miserable. CJ Alex says, WCQ 2020 has got to be the absolute worst experience of my life. That's correct. I got 8 months in jail for breaking Australian quarantine, missed out on top 42 because of some Wendy's bullshit, and worst of all, half the topping decks got pruned by Yu-Gi-Oh! Top Deck's clown show. It's funny to me that the Australian Nationals event, which you should check out my video on if you're unsure what's going on here, didn't prune the deck list by Ben Shapiro Weed Goku. They were looking through them and they were like, ooh, a lot of these are just really, really fake. But Digital Bug Guru Matica by Jeff Tiedrich did get 42nd place.
Fun fact, I actually have a YCS win, if you guys don't know. Do you think they give these bags out for free? These, Timbuktu messenger bag? And if you guys want to know the YCS that I won, it was YCS Rio de Janeiro, where I won it with Gravekeeper Burning Abyss with 22 cards in the extra deck, 4 copies of Mystic Mine in the side deck, and, you know, 6 copies of Necro Valley between the maiden side. Oh, I was also maining Thunder Dragon Colossus and number 16 Shockmaster. Oh, yeah, also 1 Upstart Goblin for the consistency, of course.
Played in, but the first regional I judged, we were expecting around 150 players and ended up close to 300. It had to be crammed into a single high school gymnasium because that was the venue for some reason. Still wonder why I kept judging after that. You haven't experienced crammed regionals until you've played on the floor, until they have set up the little paper triangle on a square of carpet. Regional in Arkansas, half of us were playing in a weight room and the other half in a 110-degree dungeon. This was my seat for round 1. I sat in it for 2 hours waiting for the round to start. A literal lifting bench. That is so fucking funny. Bro, just let me know when you get through your combo. I gotta get these games.
If you guys want to know how to get your regional top, if you want to know how to get your first regional win, invite, whatever, find some bumfuck middle of nowhere town or state like Arkansas or Missouri and play in their remote duel regionals. Play enough of them, you will get there. They're like 5 to 6 rounds. The fucking best deck in the room is like Cornfield Coddle FTK, and you can just show up like Fire King and probably just like have to beat maybe like 1 hard matchup for top 8. You know what I mean?
First regional was in Wichita, Kansas in November of 2022. I love Kansas Yu-Gi-Oh players. Anyone who plays in the Midwest knows that Kansas regionals are a special brand. The TO was renovating at the time, so there was no heat. The venue, which was supposed to hold 150, could barely hold 50, but 150 showed up. The TO tried to supply his own judges and then got angry when we were loud. Dropping the Ishizu cards the day before Pasadena was unbearable. Okay, in the defense of the people who did this, we all knew that they were coming out on that day, but it really sucked to be like, oh, you're gonna have the most fun day ever at the vendors.
It's kind of funny because at that YCS I think it was the first time I met Vlad outside of the context of like me being like a quote-unquote fan of his, but you know, just like us being like co-workers slash friends or whatever. And I swapped with him 9 playsets of every Ishizu core because he wanted them in English, and I'm like, sure man, why not?
13. Oh good, we have an old one. Was it the fact that it was a 2-deck format? No. The fact that both decks were $1,000 each? No. It was the fact that the TO had to fit the entire WCQ in 1 day, so cut the swish portion short by 1 round. If you were X11, you could miss top 16. OCE events are unbelievable. Went to YCS Charlotte out of lockdown with my dad. Same venue as a Lego convention, so I expected they would have basic stuff like water. Apparently people just leave bulk from box openings and sleeves on the tables. People pressure trades off literal children. Illegal non-vendor trades. People playing Commander in the back corner. Bought Rise of the Mega Monarch for $80. This YCS shit, no joke. This is every YCS I've ever been to. That is a par for the course YCS. Lost my grandpa's soul at this one. Aw, that sucks, buddy. Drove 45 minutes to a GA regional. Almost got T-boned by a driver. Couldn't eat for 5 rounds straight. All to get knocked out by Dark World hand rip because I didn't draw Droll in 2 games. Fun. The best parts of these is when you go to an event that is pretty mid, but not necessarily bad, but your Swiss experience is just like, oh cool, I played against Bish Balkan followed by Dark World. Whoops. Regional in San Antonio.
My friends at YCS Vegas, they grinded their ass off for weeks. They wouldn't even like hang out in like person for like, you know, just like normal platonic, you know, just like hang out as friends, play some poker or whatever. They wouldn't even come to locals because they were like, oh, locals is such a bad testing experience because we're trying to train for the fire matchup. All of them just non-stop would be just gaming out their ass, playing like fire mirrors, and I'm like, whatever. Get to the YCS, and the first group of friends scrubs out at like 1-3, and I'm like, unlucky. And then the second group of friends, which is John, Jesse, and Adrian, they play against nothing but the most dog shit rogue of all time. They lose their round 1 to trap tricks. Adrian is going against shit like Blue Wanderese and like Valmonica. They like scrubbed out at like 3-3 or 4-3. And like I'm just like talking to them like, what the fuck happened? And they're just like, bro, Adrian cannot beat rogue decks to save his life.
Texas, venue refused to do online pairings and posted them on a solitary pillar. So rounds took forever to start, and seating were these tables you would find in middle schools. So it was extra cramped to read pairings, play, and wait for 8 rounds. What the fuck? Did you have the regional in the High School Musical set location? What time is it? Time for round 3. I survived YCS Vegas 2024. Enough said.
Butler.
Man. Not to belabor the point, but one of the most frustrating parts about the Vegas YCS that has nothing to do with the management is that just by virtue of the top deck being so overpowering that it's really the only thing you can play, and also not having been out for a long time, I would say probably every single round went like 40 minutes into time. Like, what are you supposed to do? You know, if the round ends and there's 15 people still playing, that's one thing. But if the round ends and 90% of the field is still in game, you know you're going to be there for a while. PA Regional in February 2023. 75 people over fire code. Tables were reused from a Chinese buffet, were far too small. Legit had to fold your mats 25% to fit 4 in a booth. 2 hours late. Bathrooms were flooded. Closest alternative was a 15-minute walk. That is every single PA Regional I've ever been to. I don't think I've ever had one that was at capacity. I do like the concept that they were like kicking the inexplicable kid on an iPad out of the Chinese restaurant, like, hey buddy, we need this chair, lugging it over their shoulder and hightailing it to a convention center. No, the store was a barely converted Chinese buffet. Oh, I see how that happened. I don't see how it was selected as a regional location. They put product in the buffet serving line. No.
Oh my God.
$9.99 for a plate. Just like get the big metal tongs, throw in Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1. No one else is taking it. When it comes to event management, frequently the bar is just on the floor. Hopefully next year they'll have a visible clock.
Overall, this should tell you, don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Go play like a real game. Go play like poker. At least the poker rooms are nice and have bathrooms and have food available. Anyways, let me know in the comment section what your least favorite regional experience was. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this one.